Hey friends, I really felt like I was supposed to come on and share a testimony that I have about breathing and respiratory issues. I had a time in my life where I was hospitalized for some breathing issues, asthma attack, and different chemical issues that I had and allergies that I had. So I wanted to come on and share some of that with you guys. When I was in my late teens, I started having some major breathing issues. When I exercised, I had to use an inhaler. I had to keep it on me in case I ran into any trouble. I would be struggling to breathe. Running for long distances was always really hard for me in high school. I was the one that was like, with the back of the pack trying to huff and puff the last couple of rounds around the track, which was weird because I loved exercise. I was a tap dancer, I was a jazz and ballet dancer, and I even taught classes. And I did this 4 nights a week. And I loved to roller skate. I usually roller skated on the weekends, but the breathing issues were a big challenge. Anytime I got a cold or sick, which was usually 4 times a year, with the seasonal changes, I would deal with it. I would deal with the chest pains, hard to breathe, and the cold weather in the north, because I was up in Wisconsin, forget about it. That icy cold 30 below weather was so hard to breathe. Then it got worse. In college, on a summer break, I was working 2 jobs. I was working at a Christmas factory, which sounds fun, right? I was making these bows for Christmas, like red bows you would put on a wreath or your door. And then sometimes I would be on spinning duty, so I would be spinning the bows. And then I also had a second job during the days as a maid in a hotel. And I would be using chemical cleaners to clean things. I would be dusting and I would be vacuuming. So just all of that dust. Well, one night in the factory, and the factory didn't have air conditioning. It was summer, and even up in Wisconsin, the summers were still pretty hot by July, August. So there's no air conditioning, and I worked basically third shift. So one night I was spinning the bow material. Usually I would have a mask on, but it was hard for me to breathe with a mask also. So one night I was spinning the bow material and I thought I was dying. I couldn't breathe. I thought I was having a heart attack. And this was like, late teens, early 20s. So to feel that way was just wild. So I get taken to the emergency room. And after a lot of tests, and the doctors put all those little things on you, like to check your heart rate and monitor your heart and everything, they said it was an asthma attack. And I needed more inhalers and steroids and these types of things. And so fast forward to my 30s. I learned some diet changes and some other blessings, and I started implementing those. I was quite encouraged by people to get off of the inhalers, to do some research, and I encourage you to look up harmful effects of long-term use of inhalers and steroids. So I was quite encouraged to get off of these things and learn other things that I could do alternatively for long-term solutions. I also had issues where it kept showing up that I was allergic to dust. I was building up a house in Chicago, and at the time I was sleeping in the basement while the upper level was getting worked on. And a couple of months in, the dust and everything coming through the vents, it just was too much. That chest pain all started again. I was still on inhalers at the time. And I went to the doctor again, and they said, you got to get out of that house for 10 days. You need to get out of that environment, go somewhere else, and just let your lungs heal for 10 days. So I did. And then one night I was in a hotel, and the chemicals, it was like they didn't even clean the bed sheets. And instead, or maybe they did, but then on top of that, they sprayed it with like a wrinkle release spray. it just had that smell to it. And like my body, my skin was itching all night long. I could not sleep. I had to put all the sheets at the far end of the room and like wrap myself in the top blanket and just use some natural things that at that point I had heard about to like just make it through that night. So I was just super sensitive to all these chemicals. So I found out some long-term solutions. I no longer, the victory now is I no longer have an inhaler. I don't even own an inhaler anymore. I no longer need one, praise the Lord. And I do the things. I do the natural things that I believe the Lord gave me the wisdom and the Lord showed me really over a 10-year period. All the different natural things that I could do instead. So since then, now I'm in my 40s and I've been skating again. I can enjoy hiking and I've even been camping, all these things. Sometimes I'm around some dust and chemicals. You know, we're tiling this week, so there's that kind of like dust and chemical stuff going on. And I just do the things. So I just do the natural things the Lord has given the wisdom on. And it's victorious and glorious and truly my secret weapons, I believe. So if you want to know more, there's going to be a link below and you can follow that link to learn more. What were my secret weapons? Thanks for listening.